Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sixth Round Post-Fight Show with me, Zane Simon. I am joined once again, as always, by my co-host, Eddie Mercado. We're here talking about this week's UFC event in Auckland, New Zealand. Main event, Dan Hooker squeaking out the narrowest split decision over Paul Felder. A lot of people unhappy with the result of that fight. It was a razor close fight all the way through. I don't have any problem with the scorecards being either way on that. Certainly, though, Felder, you could really tell that this loss weighed heavy on him.
It definitely did. But let's acknowledge just how much of a technical war that was and just how top shelf this fight panned out to be.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, it was such a hard fight to pick.
Mm-hmm.
But we got that. Like, we got a very tough bout. Hooker came on strong early, smart game plan. He's attacking the calf, using his footwork to stay at range, using his length, keeping Felder just outside of striking range.
Mm-hmm.
And, man, Felder just willed himself away back into that fight. Like, he just kept after it, started to attack the legs himself. And then from there, he started to find his range with his hands, and he just kept landing that right hand over and over. But then Hooker made adjustments and started to look for the takedown and held Felder against the cage for a bit and did what he had to do to get the win.
Yep.
So I scored the fight for Hooker. I gave him the first three rounds and Felder the last two.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing play-by-play for this, and the third round was so close for me that when I scored it, I put 10-9 Hooker with a question mark.
Yeah.
That's just you. I mean, there's no wrong way to score that.
Yep. Felder outlanded Hooker in the second, but most judges and myself, I gave Hooker the second still. It felt like he was his low kicks were doing more damage. It felt like he was just being a little snappier with his strikes and a little cleaner. I gave him the first two rounds, and then I thought Felder did more damage in each of the last three rounds. But I also knew, like, watching that last round, I was talking about this before the show started, that it wasn't the takedown so much that Hooker got that sealed the round for him or swayed the judges. It was probably actually, I think, the mat return. Like, when Felder got up and Hooker took him down again.
Yeah.
In a fight that was razor close. They both landed about 20 significant strikes that round. I think Felder 20, Hooker 18. And with a hometown crowd that's going to be popping for everything Hooker lands, I just knew, like, even if Felder did more damage, even if I think he deserves this win, he's just not going to get it. And he didn't. So it's not a robbery. It was a razor close fight. The only definitive round was that fourth round where Felder clearly beat Hooker that round.
The judges got this right with a split decision.
Yeah.
It was great. Like, a great display of elite martial arts.
Yep.
Like, I'm blown away by how hard both men fought and the adjustments that were made, because there was a lot of adjusting going on. So this was, man, I'm going to watch this again before the night's over.
Yeah, no, I get you, man. It was a great fight. It might be Paul Felder's last fight. Obviously, you know, the moment a fighter's like, you know, I'm going to go back home, talk to my coach, talk to my family, see where we are after that. You always know, like, there's a real good chance they're getting talked back into the cage again.
Like, I knew this was coming. I interviewed Paul Felder out in Abu Dhabi before he fought Barbosa for the second time.
Yeah.
And even then he was like, you know, after this, if I'm not getting a title shot or like a Conor McGregor fight, I'm just going to retire and commentate because it's just not worth it anymore.
He's clearly talking himself there, but you can also see how much fighting in the sport means to him. And, like, he clearly does not want to give it up. It's just one of those, when will I make the smart decision not to take this much damage on the regular?
Yeah, and that is really just a tough division to thrive in.
Yeah.
Like, lightweight is so unforgiving. Like, everyone's a killer. Everybody in that top 10 is capable of some supreme damage. And,
Absolutely.
Felder is one of those guys that just bleeds easily. He's got a lot of scar tissue. And
Yep.
like you said, he's got this daughter, and I'm sure she doesn't want to see him all busted up, his eye all swollen. Like, I get it. I totally get it. And I respect whatever decision he makes. And at least if he does retire, we'll still get him commentating cage side, because I think he's an asset. I like his commentary. Speaks from experience. He's well spoken. And I've really, I'm with you with feeling like he deserved the fight, but he technically didn't win the fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's such a close decision at that point. I can't, saying that I feel like he deserved it on damage or something like that. And I'm big on scoring for damage and all that. It's still such a subjective thing when your fight is that close, when nobody's getting dropped, when both guys are landing triple-digit significant strikes. You're just operating on the thinnest margins, and I'm not going to sit down then afterward and be like, oh, that was a robbery or whatever. You had 25 minutes to... We saw a round where Paul Felder really put together a dominant performance, and everybody scored that round for him. He had 25 minutes to do that 5 times. It's on him to deliver a definitive performance, and that's not to it's not to knock him for anything less. It's just to say the scoring, subjective scoring, is always going to leave these kinds of things to chance.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm fine with the way the scorecards came out. They were pretty across the board. They were just different. Each judge had a different take on the fight, and I respect that. I totally respect it. So, credit to Hooker. He got a huge win, and what a ballsy move calling out Justin Gaethje in his post-fight interview. I absolutely love the idea of that.
Yeah, that is a killer fight, and that too, if Hooker is going to spend that fight circling off the cage and trying to play a long-rangey game, man, Gaethje will absolutely take the fight to him.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that. And not many people call out Justin Gaethje.
No.
That's not fun for anybody.
No, nobody's calling for that fight. It all depends for Gaethje because, obviously he's shooting for a title shot. He's shooting for a chance at Conor McGregor, something like that. It will depend for him if he's willing to take a fight lower down, a fight where he's DA side. But if he is, then, Hooker is the fight to make.
It definitely is. I also liked how Felder won the crowd over. And I know if he would have gotten that split decision, there would have been so many boos and just such an unhappy venue. It almost worked out for the best in terms of the crowd happiness in attendance.
I'm looking at the scorecards, too, for this right here, and each judge did score it differently. One judge gave Hooker the first 2 and Felder the last 3. One judge gave Hooker 1, 3, and 5, and Felder 2 and 4. And another judge gave Hooker the first 3 and Felder the last 2. So,
yeah, I get it. I totally get it.
Yep.
You can make cases for any of that. What a fight.
Yeah, what a great fight. Really, really a lot of fun. And, with the lightweight division, honestly, just put any 2 top 10 ranked fighters together on the top of any Fight Night card, and you're pretty much guaranteed to get a thriller out of it.
Oh, absolutely. And this was kind of like the whole main card for me. Yeah. I felt like the entire rest of the undercard and the other main card fights were glorified prelim fights.
Mm-hmm.
This was like a Conor McGregor card.
It was a bit. I mean, but to that extent, too, all the rest of the prelim fights did deliver. There were no boring, ugly, unwatchable prelims.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's usually a lot of... I don't know what it is, but whenever they go down under, there's just tons of action.
Yep.
I'm not sure why.
It's that those Aussies don't know how to wrestle, right?
I guess.
Well, I mean,
Jimmy Crute.
Co-main event, Jimmy Crute, proving that wrong.
He looked like a Dagestani out there.
hit like 30 odd takedowns in a minute.
Man, I feel like we saw a lot of that. Like the rinse and repeat style is becoming more and more popular. It's like, I'm going to take you down, and then I'm going to make you expel a bunch of energy to get back to your feet, and then I'm just going to take you right back down again.
Yeah. Well, I'll credit in this fight to Crute, too, because he even said afterward, like, I know how dangerous this guy is standing. And Oleksiejczuk, he's not like a huge one-punch hitter, but he's a great, busy, technical boxer who will just put his hands together all the time and put a pace on people. So credit to Crute for just going out there and being like, I'm going to put a different plan together. I don't need to go out and box with this guy. I'm just going to make him wrestle me. And it was an absolute clinic from him on that point.
It was brilliant.
Yeah.
And I loved the finish because there was one point where he was about to go for an arm triangle. He had full mount, I believe, and he was like, you know what? This isn't my go-to. Let me go ahead and take side control and take this dude's arm home.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. And, man, that was a really tight Kimura also.
Yeah.
That was brutal.
Kimuras are not necessarily a high percentage sub, but when you can crank into one like that, man, and he had that thing tight.
Light heavyweights aren't exactly known for their flexibility.
No, that's true. I mean, it's also the kind of thing about light heavyweight is that there are a lot of guys who are decent enough offensive grapplers, and almost all of them are terrible defensive grapplers. Yeah,
it's a bit of a pattern for sure. But
strong wins.
Crute got it done, and I liked his call out. Called out Misha Serkinov trying to get himself ranked.
Yeah, well, he also just lost that fight, though. I don't know that he's like, if I'm Serkinov, I'm not picking up that phone at all.
No, but he still shot. He shot his shot.
Yeah,
I respect it.
I get it. If you're Crute, you want to right your wrongs, get your wins back. It's not like he wasn't doing well in that Serkinov fight. He just got out scrambled and got caught in a sub himself. So
the old Peruvian necktie, which is one of my favorite subs to see being caught. It's so gangster.
I totally get why he'd want it back. If I'm just thinking, if I'm Misha Serkinov, I'm like, no, not fighting this dude again. Some dangerous kid with no name value or recognition that I just beat. It's not happening.
He probably should have lobbied for the winner of Lil Nog and Shogun.
Oh, man.
Too.
Oh, man, yeah.
I know. Not to bring the mood down, but...
All right. That brings us to a women's strawweight bout. Yan Xiaonan, Karolina Kowalkiewicz, and, man, Kowalkiewicz is on a bad slide.
That's 4 straight losses for her. And this was probably the worst of all of them.
Yeah.
It was a complete ish kicking, if you know what I'm saying.
I mean, Jessica Andrade did go out and face plant her in like under 2 minutes.
But I think this was way more deflated, way more like you get caught, like things happen.
Exactly.
But like this was just a complete, like you do not belong in there with her.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't get caught. You got dominated for 15 minutes everywhere, and from bell to bell.
The worst part about it for Kowalkiewicz is that it's probably against the least technical of the fighters she's lost to recently.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like Xiaonan is a busy striker who will put a lot of offense out there, but she's not exactly like a technical masterclass of kickboxing. But
it almost looked like Kowalkiewicz just wasn't ready.
Yeah.
Like Jan just came out and just as soon as the bell rung, she's already on her with these really hard combos. And like she didn't even take a second to reset or stop. She just kept going after it.
Yep.
And Karolina injured her eye, or no, she didn't injure her eye. She got punched in her eye.
Yeah.
And it was all downhill from there.
Oh yeah.
But I will say this, she's tough as nails.
Oh yeah, no question.
The doctor came in, I think it was right before the second round started, and gave her an out.
Yep.
She had a chance to be like, oh, eye injury, I can't see. I think she said she was seeing triple or something crazy like that, seeing double.
She could have pulled the Diego Sanchez.
Well, no, I mean, it wasn't an illegal shot.
True, but, she had the option. Take the veteran maneuver.
I mean, I think it's a bigger win that she didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, because she took her beating, you know?
Yeah.
And bless her heart, like, she just looked so weak out there, and just, she didn't look physical in any way, shape, or form. Even when she got the clinch, she was completely out-muscled, and just, it almost looked like different weight classes in terms of strength.
Yeah, no, I think, unfortunately for Kowalkiewicz, she's kind of been solved, you know? Her opponents now, they've seen her fight enough. They know what the limitations of her game is, that she's not a big strike. She's not a big puncher. She's not going to knock somebody out. She's not a great submission threat. That they can just kind of go after her. And as long as they don't let her walk them down backwards and own the clinch, they're going to, they can take her apart. And certainly the injury didn't help, because from that moment on, Kowalkiewicz really just looked like she didn't, as you say, she didn't take the out, but she did not look like she wanted to be there.
No, she was like covering her hurt eye with her own glove. So she's out there with one eye just getting pieced up. Yeah. It was kind of hard to watch. I'm not going to lie.
Well, because Kowalkiewicz seems really nice, and she just got an ass kicking that she didn't really need. Like, the corner could have just thrown a towel in there at some point.
Yeah, I would have respected her corner for doing that, to be quite honest. But you think she keeps her job after this?
I mean, I don't know if the UFC is necessarily going to cut her, but if she's talking about retirement, this would be the time to do it.
Yeah.
The UFC, they might cut her. I mean, it's getting to the point that if you're going to book her at this point out, you kind of have to book her at the bottom of the division, and then, you're talking about a former title challenger that you're booking against, absolute newcomers.
Yeah, that's a tough proposition. I wouldn't mind watching her fight Loma.
Fight who?
Loma Lukbunmi.
Oh, Loma Lukbunmi. Sure, yeah, no. It would be, at least, it would be a fighter that wouldn't massively out-muscle Lukbunmi.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are matches, but like you said, it's like newcomers against a former title challenger. Yeah. And, like, is Carolina even willing to do that? I don't know.
We're getting to the Renan Barão kind of slide here.
Oh, man, that's spot on. Yeah. But, like, without the glory of being a champion.
Without the championship belt.
That's even worse. But on an up note, at least Jan should be ranked.
Yeah,
here soon and fighting good, better competition.
She's 5-0 now, so at this point, she should get ranked, and they can just throw her in anywhere in that division. I mean, there's in a division like strawweight, and with she's been fighting since 2009, although really only in earnest since 2015, picking her career up again. But she's been around long enough, and she's on enough of a run right now that. Throw her in against, like, the winner of... she probably won't get the winner of Watterson versus Esparza, but maybe Gadelha versus Rodriguez or somebody like that.
Yeah. She looked good. She looked great. Yeah. And, like, I don't know how much of that was her just having a great game plan and executing, and how much of it was Carolina just being done.
Yeah, I know. Let's move on to a heavyweight fight. Marcos Rogério de Lima, Ben Sassoli, pure swanging and banging for 1 minute and 30 seconds. Unfortunately, almost all the banging being done on the de Lima side.
Did Sassoli sleep with de Lima's mom or something? Like, that dude came out and he fought him like he owed him like $2,000 or something.
Yeah.
This was insane.
And that's the thing with de Lima, is that he has always been a first-round monster. It's just that either works, or he just entirely detonates and implodes and then gets subbed. But Sassoli wasn't even that likely to sub him, and he just kept walking straight in, like expecting the next time he's not going to hit me that hard. And it just kept happening over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, he would just come out with these three-piece flurries, three-piece flurries, three-piece flurries. And it's like something's about to land. You know, you can't just sit there and do nothing. And I'm glad that DeLima moved up to heavyweight because that style works way better.
Oh,
and
yeah.
There's a lot less submission threats at heavyweight.
Yep.
Like he already got subbed by the one guy who's really going to submit him. So if he can just be the faster, more explosive heavyweight, he can probably knock a lot of guys out.
Yep. Dude hits like a truck, and he's actually like, he's got a good technical Muay Thai game when he uses it. He's just always been kind of like 3 minutes of high power offense, and then he gets really tired, and then he shoots, and then somebody taps him out. But heavyweight will be a lot kinder to him for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm excited to see what he does in heavyweight. Maybe he'll find a way to come up with some consistency.
I want to see them book him against Todd Duffy.
Is Todd Duffy in the UFC still?
Yeah, he got a no contest in his return first fight in like 3 years. He fought Jeff Hughes last year, and it ended via an eye poke in like 2 minutes into the first round or something.
That's right. I remember that.
And he hasn't been back since.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Yeah. Still, Rogerio de Lima, Todd Duffy, I want that fight. I don't care. Bring Todd back. If you've cut him, bring him back.
Just for that. I'm with it.
All right, that brings us to a lightweight bout. Brad Riddell, Magomed Mustafayev, and a solid, not quite the all-out, just brutal war I quite expected, but a really great performance from Riddell, honestly. Just a big step ahead of Mustafayev standing and fought off all the takedowns as often as they were coming back at him.
Yeah, and having a really good chin. He did eat some big strikes from Mustafayev. Like that flying knee, how did he just eat that?
Yeah.
Like he ate it and then just returned fire.
Yep.
Like, my God, you're like a juggernaut.
Yeah, he's a ton of fun at lightweight, and just that kind of technique and the toughness and the gas tank and willingness to just fight that hard all the way through 15 minutes against a dude like this. Like, I don't care who he fights next. I want to see it.
Yeah, he's action. He's definitely action. What I liked is how, he spent a lot of time fighting off the takedowns, which prevented Mustafayev from really doing anything with the positions, which I love. It's almost like a stalemate, so it's almost as if you don't even count that for anything. Therefore, whatever strikes were landed is what you focus on in terms of judging. But he went and got a takedown himself and landed some ground and pound on Mustafayev, who I honestly believe had zero expectations of that even being a possibility.
Oh, unquestionably.
This was a great fight. It was competitive, too. Split decision. The second round was super close.
Yep.
That could have gone either way. So another great war. But it wasn't like a slobber knocker kind of war, although Mustafayev did get dropped in the first round.
Yeah, man, he got crushed in the first round. Like, that punch Riddell hit him with, it had him flattened out for just a second before he regained his senses.
Yeah.
I almost kind of wonder what would have happened if Riddell had just stepped back and made Mustafayev get back up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for real. Because Mustafayev instantly went for a leg lock.
Yeah.
To his credit, and that gave him enough time to kind of come back to reality and like, oh, wait a minute. And then that kind of started a grappling sequence, which gave him even more time to recover.
Yep.
So I wonder, that's something, to work on for sure for Riddle, but he's fun. He's definitely fun. Who did he call out? He called out somebody. I don't remember.
He called out Alexander Hernandez.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to get that fight with Hernandez still ranked coming off a win over Francisco Trinaldo and all that, but he could. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Do it somewhere on that side of the world.
Totally. See, that brings us back down to the prelim card, and Zubara Tukugov, Kevin Aguilar, and that was a hell of a left hook Tukugov hit Aguilar with.
Yeah, it was. He threw all 145 pounds into that punch.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely starched him. Real rough loss for Aguilar, but Tukugov, he's climbing back up on the horse after a couple of years off, and then that funky fight he had with Lerone Murphy in his return.
Well, that was his last fight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, man, I think he lost that fight. But that's neither, like watching live, like I was in the arena, and I really thought he got some home cooking on that one.
No, it ended up a draw, so I thought he kind of lost it too. But still, like he looked sharp against Aguilar here. Came out throwing heat, and it's really rough for Aguilar. He had a pretty good run up through LFA, and then a couple of really nice wins over Rick Glenn and Enrique Barzola, but better athletes in the division really just seemed to be able to outspeed him. So
better athletes who can throw their hands.
Yeah.
I mean, Ige's, man, his boxing is so sharp, and Tukugov is just, he throws with so much ferocity.
Yeah.
It's hard to deal with.
Lightweight Jalin Turner beat Joshua Culibao for that, and I know Culibao was fighting up a division. He was actually a featherweight regionally. For some reason, I thought he fought at 185 in his last fight, but nope, 145. So Culibao coming in on short notice, up a division, and with a pretty padded record, and he looked a bit shell-shocked in there. Yeah,
I mean, he definitely did not look like UFC material. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, credit to him stepping up on short notice. When the UFC calls, you answer. I get it.
Yep.
But this looked like a fight that you would see on the regional scene with a guy who's about to make it to the UFC fighting, just some dude who just is some guy.
A tough dude with a pretty record. That's exactly the kind of fight that will get him to the UFC, beating that dude.
Yeah, this was a good old-fashioned passionate ass whooping is what it was.
Yeah.
Turner is so dangerous, and he's lanky, and the way he throws his knees it makes me cringe for his opponent.
Mm-hmm.
It's so lethal and so deadly. And I mean, Culibao hung in there and really gutted through, twisting his ankle and a lot of adversity, some really tight guillotine chokes. But this was just one-way traffic.
Got outstruck 90-12.
Well, that's so. Yeah, that's speaks for itself.
55-12 in significant strikes. So.
Ugh.
Yeah.
This is probably the one and only freebie Turner's going to get in the UFC.
Might be. Yeah, no kidding. He's definitely had to step in. Well, he got Callum Potter before that, but whatever.
Yeah.
Potter came out and proved his mettle in his next bout, and then had this one. We'll get to that in a second. Before that, Jake Matthews, Emil Weber Meek, and man, I felt so. This was such a weird fight because they spent all this time during the walkout when Meek's coming in and all the prep and all that, and the announcers are talking about like, man, he's been working with Gray Maynard out in his corner. He recognizes his takedown defense has been a problem in his past 2 losses. He's really been working hard on that. Really think, he's really tried to turn a corner here technically and really fixed a lot with his training. And then he comes out and gets taken down like 5 times right away.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too surprised at that.
No.
It's like you can only believe so much when you hear what guys are working on versus, what they actually can apply in an actual fight.
Yeah.
And especially against someone who's such a willing wrestler in Matthews.
Yep.
But credit to Meek for, toughing it out and staying relatively safe on the ground, not really eating too many big punches. And finally stuffing takedowns when Matthews got tired in the third and really made it a pretty close fight. He started to dish out some damage.
That's the thing with Meek is that, he's kind of a blank canvas technically, but he is a really good athlete. And even like Kamaru Usman struggled to hold him down and got kind of had a really difficult fight just trying to control him. So, yeah, by the end of the second round, Matthews was exhausted from it, and Meek started to turn it up. It's just unfortunate for Meek, too, that he's also not really got a range striking game. So...
Yeah, like he threw that one flying knee that got him taken down.
Yep.
It's like, man.
He doesn't have any real way to... He just wants to square up in front of somebody and sling hooks at him. He doesn't really have a good way to close distance other than landing a few low kicks. So even though he had Matthews tired and hurt and backing up, he couldn't ever really pull the trigger well enough to close the fight out.
Yeah, it's a tough loss.
Yeah.
I mean, he really tried to catch up and,
he
make
had
that final sprint.
He had Matthews dead to rights in the third round, no question.
Just couldn't convert.
Yep.
Matthews I don't want to say he got lucky here, but man.
He scraped one out.
He definitely hung on to get the win.
Yeah. For that, Song Kenan, Callan Potter, and, Potter kind of got a really big, surprising win in his last trip out. This was kind of a crash back to reality.
Yeah. Man.
He just rushes people with his chin way up, throwing hooks, both arms at the same time, and Kenan just started teeing off on him. It was like 4 or 5 punches right to the jaw in that finishing sequence.
And what was crazy is Potter tried to move, but wherever he moved, the punches were there. Song was throwing them at just the right place to where 9 out of 10 times they probably wouldn't have landed, but the planets aligned just right. The stars were in his favor, and they all hit.
Well, I think he's just got one of those chins that follows you around the room wherever you're looking. No, okay. Eyes in a portrait.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Wherever you go, his chin's just right there.
Man, that was best case scenario for Song.
Yeah.
It's wherever he threw, Potter was well, let me put my chin, let me block this punch with my chin.
Yeah. Nice, strong knockout for Kenan there. Big win. Gets him right back into, puts him on a 2-fight win streak. He beat Derek Krantz his last time out. That's right.
Yeah, he won 4 of his 5 UFC fights.
Yep. His lone loss being that a funky fight to Alex Morono. Has a loss to Brad Riddle though, which is a lot more understandable now, having watched Riddle fight more.
Yeah. I wouldn't even be against them running it back in the UFC.
Well, Riddle's a lightweight, though, and Kenan's a welterweight. Kenan's a middleweight-sized welterweight, and Riddle's a featherweight-sized lightweight. It must have been kind of a wild fight to watch regionally.
Man, I haven't seen it, so I couldn't tell you. But I do know Song is one of those one of the Chinese fighters that had to move to Thailand to escape the coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
So it was cool to see him be able to, adapt to that and not let it affect his camp and not allow it to affect his performance.
Yeah, I wonder if it's a good sign or if it just is totally meaningless for Weili Zhang trying to fight trying to get to her Joanna Jędrzejczyk fight, because obviously that fight's in Vegas, and I don't know how much more the U.S. is on lockdown against people flying in from from Chinese citizens flying over than New Zealand.
Yeah, didn't One Championship? Didn't they host an event with nobody was allowed to come to it? They still put it on for the fighters, but didn't allow anybody to come to the venue.
Certainly could be. Yeah, I wouldn't be. That does sound like something one would do.
I saw that somewhere. I didn't fact check it though.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it is not that hard to imagine that with the fight just less than a month away, just a couple weeks away, that Weili Zhang might have trouble getting to New York or to Nevada to Las Vegas.
Yeah. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. And no, I think currently she's like they're trying to get her to her camp moved to like Abu Dhabi or something. Last I saw, but at least in terms of this card, Yan Xiaonan and Song Qinan were able to compete, so the UFC was able to handle that. Might be a good sign for them, but it might also, like I say, mean nothing just because it's a totally different country.
Right, that's true.
That brings to a flyweight bout: Kai Kara France. Tyson Nam.
This was fun. This was fun.
Really rock solid fight.
A classic case of volume versus power with volume winning out this time.
Yeah, I mean, Nam is going to just have such a hard row to hoe at flyweight. Mm-hmm. Being like a one-punch knockout artist who's depending on trying to go the slow-paced, not over-tax yourself route. Like, I expected him to have a big third round in this fight because he's so good at, like, picking up timing and slowly building and all that. But by the time he got to the third round, he was the one that was tired, and Kai Kara France was the one who was still putting out volume.
Yeah, I think some of that could have been just all the wear, like just that volume accumulating. And just to the point where, he was getting a little discouraged and kind of forcing his shots more and knowing he's down on the cards and his corner like telling him to throw volume. And it's like, it's Tyson Nam. He's not going to come out and throw volume.
Yeah.
So definitely a great win for Kara France, who stuck to the script and just trusted. He used, tons of volume, but it was really his footwork. Like he would come in with volume and he would use his footwork to stay out of harm's way before Nam could really deliver that power.
Yep.
Exceptionally smart fight. I mean, Kara France is freaking good.
He is. He's a lot of fun.
And it's like, if you're going to be a power puncher, like that's cool. But do it at flyweight. Do it in a way like John Lineker, where you're throwing combinations. It's not just one punch. It's maybe two punches, maybe three punches.
If you're at flyweight, you can't afford to be somebody who gets tired. And if you think you're getting tired, you can't be a fighter who manages their pace to keep from getting tired. Like the division just won't allow for it.
Yeah, it's definitely unforgiving in that respect.
Yeah, everybody else will just push a pace on you forever. And be like, I weigh 125 pounds. What do you want me to do? I'm not going to gas out for you.
Yeah, and like he was trying to clinch up at times.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because he wanted to stop that footwork. Mm-hmm. And like the only way he could do it is trying to grab a hold of Kara France. But even then, it was like he was delivering zero damage from the clinch.
Yep. Good, solid win for France. Tough loss for Nam. I hope they find another good fight for him in the UFC. I hope he can find some adjustment to have success because he's got a fun style to watch. When he does get those finishes, he's a really fun fighter to watch. But he may just he may be caught in this area because he's a pretty tall flyweight. I think he's 5'7", and he may just be kind of caught in between this bantamweight flyweight space where he's not quite big enough to be a physical bantamweight and to fight the way he'd want to at bantamweight, but in the UFC level flyweight division, he's not fast enough to catch people.
Well, I think he should fight Mark De La Rosa if he doesn't get cut.
Yeah, that'd be a
very interesting matchup there.
That brings us to a women's strawweight fight. Angela Hill beat Loma Lookboonmee, and
this broke my heart, Zane. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I like Loma. I met her out in Thailand. She's super awesome, and I love her Muay Thai. It's really great. But the fact of the matter is, she's an atomweight trying to bulk up to strawweight so she can fight in the UFC, much like Michelle Waterson had to do.
Yep.
But I mean, that's such a slow process to do that. Like it's not gonna manifest in a couple fights. Like it takes a little bit.
Yeah. Well,
and go ahead.
I was gonna say, and the tough thing here was really too that I kind of expected them to be 50-50 in the boxing exchanges.
Mm-mm.
And Hill was just a big step ahead.
Yeah, it's Western boxing versus Muay Thai. Loma's trying to kick the leg, and Hill was like, oh, that's fine. I'm going to throw my punches. And her cross was landing religiously.
Yeah.
Like almost at will. And then, Loma being, having a great Muay Thai clinch, it's like, oh, well, maybe she'll find success there. But, Hill being so much bigger and stronger, she was able to press Loma against the cage. And some of the things that work in Muay Thai just do not work in MMA. Like Loma was using the knee shield, but Hill was like, okay, thanks for the single leg, and gets the takedown. And it's hard. It's so much different when your back is to a cage versus open space or even ropes. There's just, and takedowns are options. Like it's a hard transition to make.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I'm such a Loma fan. This hurt.
Yeah, there are other fights I think she can find success with in the UFC, but it unfortunately, like, this kind of loss really does, like, Hill is kind of the dividing line of, are you going to make a run in this division, or are you going to float around underneath the top 15? And
well, I think Loma just needs some time away to get better.
That might be that too. She definitely, like, if she had a cleaner boxing game, she could have done a lot better in this fight.
I mean, she even got a takedown on Hill.
Yep.
And, shrugged off an armbar attempt and escaped a triangle. So, like, seeing that sort of submission defense is definitely a good look.
She won the last round,
Yeah, I think she just honestly needs some time away to get bigger and fine-tune some things to make her style much more conducive to mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
Or at least her striking, I should say. I feel like her grappling's on par. Like, it's pretty decent.
Yeah, she's not. But she's a surprisingly decent grappler, but she really does need, for somebody who's such a good Muay Thai striker, she needs to make sure that if she's going to be shorter than other fighters, that when she's in the pocket, she's at least more technical. And that didn't happen here.
And Muay Thai, they don't really do a ton of head movement because of, they're used to like kicks coming and stuff like that on the regular. So I think it's just minor adjustments she needs to make, but I also think it's just going to take some time for those to really stick and show up in the cage.
Yep. Opening the bout, however, a real shocking winner, Priscilla Cachoeira with the first round knockout of Shanna Dobson.
Man.
Dobson just like leaned straight into that uppercut, and it was a thing of beauty.
Yeah, it was that old, you going to jail now uppercut. It was so brutal. But like Cachoeira came out like a woman possessed.
Mm-hmm.
Like she was throwing just angry. Like she was just letting her hands go and just so willing to bang it out with someone who is more athletic than she is, which can be dangerous. But man, when she like put everything into that uppercut.
Yep.
And poor Dobson, she just had no idea.
The thing with Cachoeira is that, like, I think it's clear she's strong enough and she's tough enough to fight at this level. She just really had no technique at all when she hit the UFC.
Yeah.
No striking technique, no wrestling technique, no grappling technique. She's just used to being big enough and tough enough to dominate other fighters. And here she actually, she came out and she threw some jabs. Mm-hmm. And then she threw her power shots behind those jabs. And suddenly she just knocked Dobson silly. Like, a little boxing technique could carry her a long way. I'm not saying that she's about to, turn around and become a title contender or anything, but she could at least hang around and kind of, go win-loss with some fights down at the bottom of the flyweight division. When before she just was kind of getting swept out of the building.
I'm really curious to see, whether or not this was I don't want to say fluke. I feel like that's disrespectful. But was this just, best case scenario for her? Or is this an improvement that we're seeing in a short amount of time? I mean, her last fight was what, May of last year?
Yeah. So it's been a year, almost.
But I mean, if she's improving that much in a year, that's outstanding.
It's true.
So if she can continue to grow like that, she can give some people some fits and definitely win a couple fights and get some paychecks.
Yeah, or even at least hold on to this level. Like, it doesn't have to be growth that much. It just has to be not regression.
Yeah.
Because there are some fighters at the bottom of that division that aren't that athletic, that don't have that much power. If she can go out and then she can like throw a jab consistently and then throw some big hooks behind it, there are some fights to win. But she just has to go back. She has to make sure she doesn't go back to like throwing her shoulder out of its socket every time she wants to throw a right hand.
So Cachoeira went from a 3-fight losing skid to getting this insane knockout and winning a performance bonus.
Yeah, picked up the performance bonus too. I love to see it for especially like a fighter in the opening prelim bout. I love to see somebody in that position get their bonus because they need that money. And Jimmy Crute got the other performance bonus in the co-main event.
Well deserved.
Hooker. Yep, and then Hooker Felder got fight of the night, which they had to.
Yeah, oh yeah, man. Just when I forgot about how great that was, I am now reminded, and how much I need to watch that again before I go to bed tonight.
Yeah, no, really fantastically great fight. Tough loss for Paul Felder. Might be the last fight of his career. Hate to see it, love to see it. It's one of those things where it's like, man, I love watching Paul Felder fight. I don't want to see him stop fighting. At the same time, it's like, man, you take so much damage every time you fight because you're always in thrilling wars. If you want to walk away from this, that's totally fine.
Yeah, it's tough. The selfish part of me wants him to stick around.
Yeah.
But I care about his health. I want him to do what's best for him and his family. And he does have a gig commentating that he's good at. So there's an avenue. He doesn't have to keep fighting.
Yep.
So, if he does leave, I'll definitely miss his style. He's someone who always brought it, always in fun fights. And, man, it just sucks. I want to see him out there. I want to see him fight everybody.
Yeah, I hear you. And for Hooker, maybe he'll get that Gaethje bout, and maybe sometime later this year we'll be all treated to Dan Hooker versus Justin Gaethje.
Yeah, it's almost as if Felder's passing the torch in must-see TV. He's passing it to Hooker.
All told, really fun night of fights. No real downsides. No real big this just wasn't very good. Guys that aren't quite at this level. Callum Potter's, Joshua Culibao, Ben Solis. They kind of got thrown to the wolves here, but they were still all thrilling fights.
Yeah, tons of action. Just tons of action. Although, the bulk of this card was irrelevant in terms of any kind of title contention or anything like that. But, when you get exciting fights, who really cares?
Yeah.
I feel like the blood gods are satisfied. It's
a fight night card a little earlier in the day on, with a big, huge boxing event coming right after it. It didn't have to be that big as long as it's just fun. So I'm happy.
And I mean, it was really capped off with an exclamation point. Hooker and Felder delivered perfectly.
Yeah.
Can you get a closer fight than that?
No. Really, really fantastic stuff. Only Derek Lewis versus Francis Ngannou. That's the only way you get it.
For the exact opposite reason.
Yes. You either get no strikes or you get all the strikes.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. You can find me on Twitter over at Zane Simon. You can find Eddie over on Twitter at Eddie Mercado. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.